Welcome, Hudson Valley. This is Conor Walsh, host of In Touch, Townsquare Media, the Hudson Valley's award-winning public affairs and issues program. Chief Master Gerald Dunn from Karate for Excellence returns to promote Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month and the upcoming Autism Walk in Baird Park on April 27th. Gerald and I go into why martial arts has been scientifically proven to be one of the best and most productive outlets for those with special needs. We invite you to join us and listen to a previously recorded conversation between Gerald and myself here on In Touch. Thank you for all the kind words shared in regard to In Touch officially being awarded the 2023 New York State Broadcasters Association Award for Outstanding Public Affairs Program or Series as part of the 57th Annual Excellence in Broadcasting Awards. This recognition would not be possible without the incredible team here at Townsquare, all of our phenomenal guests that we learn and grow with every single week, and of course you, the listener. Whether you've been listening for a while or you just found us, thank you for taking part in the conversation and staying in touch with what's going on in the Hudson Valley. We here at In Touch are all about, well, being in touch with what's going on in the Hudson Valley. What better way to stay in touch with what's going on than by downloading the Townsquare Media mobile app for this radio station? Not only can you listen to this station live at any time using the app, but you can also listen to In Touch on demand. Besides In Touch, you can read daily articles about news, events, entertainment, and more that's going on in your community. And when the weather gets bad, you can use the app to check on weather reports and see which roads, schools, and organizations are closed. Your Townsquare Media app is the best place for concert tickets and events as well. We're constantly giving away tickets to the hottest shows in the area. Again, you'll have access to all of this if you just download the Townsquare Media mobile app for this radio station. In Touch is nothing without the support of the hundreds of listeners that we get on a weekly basis. Thank you so much for listening and taking part in the conversation. If you listen to In Touch through a podcast service such as Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please consider leaving a positive review. With more 5-star reviews on these platforms, the algorithms will work hard to promote our show and bring In Touch to new people. That and also sharing In Touch with your friends and family is so important. Just sharing our links and listening live each Sunday goes such a long way. Thank you for all you do to stay in touch with what's going on in the Hudson Valley. Hello, Hudson Valley. This is Conor Walsh, and you're listening to In Touch, Townsquare Media, the Hudson Valley's award-winning public affairs and issues program. We got a great episode for you guys today, and a phenomenal returning guest. With us today, we got Chief Master Gerald Dunn, owner and founder of Karate for Excellence. Gerald, how are you today?
I'm doing great.
I'm really happy to have you back in here, and I'm really excited about this. This is your third appearance here on In Touch. The first time that we had you on, we talked about how karate is more of a vessel to teach character building and how it can strengthen the family dynamic. The next time we have you in, we were talking about Bully Prevention Month and the difference between confrontation and bullying and the importance of confidence and self-esteem. All these things, so important, it's more than just being physically active. It's about really building great kids who turn into great adults and just an overall more positive society. And going on that more positive society, today we're talking about, well, first of all, March is Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month. Within this month, there's also World Down Syndrome Day. That's going to be on March 21st. And then in April, actually, there's going to be the Autism Walk in Baird Park on the 27th, which you're going to have a table at, and we'll break down all of that. And I'm excited to talk about all of it because, this is the time to do so, and it's so important. And the work that you do already in this vein is just absolutely amazing. Before we get into that, though, in case somebody, for whatever reason, didn't check out the other episodes or unfamiliar with you, could you give a little overview on Karate for Excellence before we get into the meat and potatoes of this episode?
Yeah, we're located over at 29 Fireman's Way in Poughkeepsie. I've been teaching here in Poughkeepsie for 32 years.
32 years.
Going on 33.
Wow.
Our whole focus of our program is to develop strong characters, young adults who are self-assured, confident, and living the best life they possibly can.
And that's fantastic. And honestly, I recommend if you haven't listened to those episodes or you need a refresher, go back to those earlier episodes when we were talking about character building, talking about bully prevention, because there are a lot of great nuggets, not just for, kids and adolescents, but really good messages for people of any age. I know myself, after we had those conversations, I kind of sat down and really thought about some of the topics that we're going on about, and it just really helped me with a lot of self-reflecting. So I appreciate that. So thank you very much for that. So as I said, March is Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month, and we touched on this a little bit in other episodes, but we really wanted to make it the focus of this episode today. And something that you've brought up before is how martial arts is such a key thing when it comes to helping develop those with disabilities. Could you tell us that statistic we were just talking about ahead of time, and why you think that is and what the science has proven?
Well, I read research up from Canada, and they actually found that the two most beneficial activities for kids on the autistic spectrum is horseback riding and karate. And I thought it was amusing because I can't really think of two activities that are more different. You know, with the horseback riding, I think that they just kind of bond with the animal a little bit, and you know, that kind of calms them down and soothes them. But I think with martial arts, the important thing is the structure. From what I've seen, I don't consider myself to be an expert, but from what I've seen, that structure is very important for the kids with autism, because one of their issues is they have difficulty with impulse control, and they tend to get fixated on things. And one of the things that I want to do is to help them learn how to function in society, so that when they become adults, that they're going to be able to live well and have the best life that they possibly can. And I think when you look at special needs, the tendency is, because most people are nice people, is to indulge them. But indulgence doesn't always help them. I think we kind of have to keep in mind that we want them to do well as an adult. And indulging them when they're young doesn't make that happen.
I think you gave a great example earlier before we got on the mic. Something that might be indulged at 8 years old is not going to be as cute by the time you get to 16 or 26 and things along those lines. And that's really something of anybody, able-bodied or those with developmental disabilities, that's just the same. Just can't indulge in these, and you have to really help. Can't just leave it up to them to figure it out.
Well, they don't know. They have no way of knowing. And we have to make some decisions for them as to what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. And, you know, and I think, too, that it's much easier to mold them when they're young. That's what people forget. And it's not, that doesn't go just for special needs.
Anybody.
Because people indulge a 3-year-old, and then all of a sudden he's not cute anymore when he's 10, acting the same way.
Yeah. We talked about that with the bullying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think with special abilities, it's even more important, because they're going to struggle anyway, and they have more obstacles to overcome. And we want to make them as strong as possible, both physically, emotionally, mentally, so that they can function in society.
If you can give them the tools as early as possible to make this happen, it's only going to make things easier in the long run. Absolutely.
You know, they're not always going to have somebody there looking after them.
No.
You know, I think in a lot of ways, I mean, unfortunately, parents don't live forever.
No.
And sooner or later, they're going to be gone, and then they have nobody to look after them that really cares.
I have some family members right now where it's kind of a difficult subject, but you're right with the special needs, where, you know, certain people used to be their coach, and those people either no longer around for different reasons, and it is so difficult to see the aftermath of that and how you go from there. So being able to prepare everybody for that situation, especially the person who needs the coaching, get them as prepared as possible, as soon as possible.
Well, you know, even in my own family, I had a cousin who had some pretty severe, both cognitive and physical disabilities. You know, they didn't expect him to live to be 18.
Wow.
Then he hit 18, and then he hit 30, then he hit 50. And unfortunately, his parents passed away when he was relatively young, but fortunately, his sisters took really good care of him.
Oh, that's nice.
And they didn't expect him to live till 18, and I think when he passed, he was like 62.
Oh, my gosh.
You know, so sometimes they can just beat the odds, and you have to kind of think a little bit, if I'm not here, what's going to happen to him?
Yeah.
And you want to give them as many tools as possible for them to be able to survive without you.
Absolutely. And I want to talk about the tools that you're able to help offer with Karate for Excellence. You say that at any given time, you have several students who have developmental disabilities, and you're always trying to help and you're always trying to keep that door open for them. And first of all, I just got to say kudos to you for that, because not every program would. So the fact that you're as accessible as you are is amazing. But then let's talk about the rules, the regiment, the structure. You said before the structure of it all is what you think really lends to why this is so successful. So could you get into that for us, please?
Well, I have 4 rules. First, they can't talk out of turn, which with some of the kids on autism, that's a difficult from some other kids too, but especially with some of the ones on autism. They don't punch or kick without being told, because we want to keep everybody safe, okay? And then they're supposed to freeze after every move. So if I need to help somebody, I can help them, and then they have to do everything I say.
Yeah.
And they get rewarded with tokens if they follow those rules. And sometimes it takes a while, and especially some of the kids on the spectrum, if they don't get the token, they get extremely upset. You just have to make sure that if they don't follow the rules, they don't get the reward.
Yeah.
Because otherwise the rules are useless, or the reward is useless.
Yeah. And I think the token idea is really good in the fact that it's something very manageable. It's something that can be seen, something very physical. And then from there, how do you see outside of, giving those tokens, how you see the kids develop in general and with other things, taking on those responsibility and potentially consequences?
Well, what the tokens do is it encourages them to maintain self-control and to not give in to their emotions. And I think that's a lesson everybody has to learn.
Amen.
Because that's really what discipline is not acting on your emotions. And it's especially important with the kids on the spectrum, because they're very compulsive and they act without thinking and they speak without thinking. It can cause a lot of problems for them, because sometimes it's not always obvious they're on the spectrum.
Yeah.
And then people think it's just a bad kid, or it's just, an obnoxious adult, or whatever the case. And a lot of times it's not so much that. It's just they don't have the capacity to control their emotions. And this helps them develop that. And all human beings are very, very moldable when they're young. I read somewhere that a human being learns 80% of everything they're going to learn for their lifetime by their 5th birthday. So that's the time to help them. And the older you get, the more rigid
set in your ways
that you get. And I think that especially when they have special needs, that it's important that you don't overindulge them when they're young, because martial arts is all about creating habits. And if you let them develop bad habits young, if they have special needs, it's even more difficult to change that as they get older.
Yeah. I've talked about building habits on a number of episodes here, and how difficult that is, for adults in general of any ability. So, yeah, you got to be able to get that in motion as best as you can, honestly.
I'd like to cite one really good example. I have a young lady with Down syndrome who trains with me. Her name is Cerise. She's been with me for about 5 years now. She has a black belt, but her parents had her physically active her whole life. And she knocks out push-ups, and she just never stops. She's like the ever-ready bunny. She'll sit there and work out on the bag, and everybody else will be sucking wind, and she just keeps going. And one of the things about Down syndrome is quite often they lack muscle tone. They tend to be overweight. And I think that the way to minimize that is you have to get them physically active when they're young. You can't wait until they're preteen teenagers. It's too late. And she does an awesome job.
That's so cool.
And she's one of my, of course I love all my students, but she's one of my favorites because she will do anything you ask her to do. And she doesn't get discouraged about anything.
Oh, that's amazing to be able to have that kind of mindset, to be able to not be discouraged from it all. She just sounds so super. I would love to meet her. I would just love to give her a high five and just see her in action, because what you've told me about her is just so, so cool.
And just how much stronger she is now. I mean, she actually started with me when she was 13. Okay. She's graduating with a high school diploma.
Good for her.
taking Regents exams and everything else, and she's graduating high school this year.
Oh my God! Congratulations to her.
And she's something else. She's really good. Of course, she's very naive, you know. But I tell you what, if she were to hit you, you wouldn't like it.
I don't think I would want to go into a sparring ring with her. I
can't ever picture her hitting anybody with bad intentions.
Yeah,
but you know, she can hit pretty good.
Nice. I'm not interested in that myself, but that is so cool and so amazing to hear. But that also just goes to show you, when you're put into the right place and you're given the right support, how much can be done. And a lot of it sounds like this is just who she is, and that's amazing.
Well, a lot of it is, but she also had parents that, you know, her mom works with special abilities kids as well. So her mom knew not to let her go. They just didn't overindulge her.
That's good.
And they kept her, she was physically active. I'll tell you, the biggest change in her was when she first got there, she was very conscientious about her speech, because sometimes with the Down syndrome, they have a little bit of a speech impediment. And she's very conscientious about it. You could hardly get her to say anything. And now, in every other activity that she's in, she's the one leading the drills. She's the one giving the commands. She's taking everybody through the warm-up. It's such a huge difference in just her persona because of that.
Wow. I'm grinning ear to ear. I know this is radio, you can't see this, but like, I'm beaming right now. That's so cool.
And, you know, and I was telling you earlier, we all like to have these guys that can jump up and spin in the air 5 times and kick and break 10 boards or whatever. But when you see somebody who you've impacted to that degree, there's a tremendous amount of satisfaction there as well.
Absolutely. And to be honest, based on what you said, she might hit that point where she's making those 5 flips someday. If she's that strong and that capable as you're saying, you better watch out. But that's so cool. So with all of that, again, we got World Down Syndrome Day coming up March 21st, and there's going to be a number of things going on for that. But for you specifically, the Autism Walk that's happening in Baird Park on April 27th, you're going to have a booth and a table there. This is not the first time that you've been a part of this walk, correct?
I had a table there last year as well.
Nice. And could you tell me what that experience was for you last year?
You know, it was a lot of fun. It was very interesting. The biggest issue was the weather.
I'm sure.
It was pretty nasty. It was like 50 degrees and raining.
Oh.
And so, you know, I don't think they got quite the turnout that they were hoping for. It's a little bit later in April this year, so I'm hoping they get a much nicer day.
Yeah.
You know, I'm glad that, you know, people are more and more aware of autism and what it's about. You know, we have to help take care of these kids, because they can be a very productive part of society. A lot of them are very bright, they're very intelligent, their mind just functions in a different way. And one of the big challenges you run into working with them is you just have to find out what their triggers are, and you have to find out what gets through to them. And they're all just a little bit different. And but it also makes it a lot of fun and makes it interesting too.
Yeah. It really teaches empathy from yourself, from the other students, everybody involved. It just gives a lot more perspective and helps put yourself and others into each other's shoes. And that's a skill to have regardless of who you're dealing with. You know, on a day-to-day basis, I'm dealing with that here at work. I'm dealing with that with my friends and family. So being able to develop that skill is so important. And I'm glad that that's something you're able to instill on everybody. So when it comes to the Autism Walk, what can people expect to find at your booth? Are you going to be there personally? How can they get involved with that?
I'll have a prize wheel.
Ooh, fun.
Okay, they can spin the wheel. They don't even care what they win. They just want to spin the wheel.
I know. It's kind of me too.
You know, they can spin the wheel, and then, you know, if they want to make a little donation to autism, then I'll give them a free uniform.
Oh,
go
wow.
with some classes, and I'll go ahead and give them a free uniform.
Oh, that's so cool. Oh, that's neat. No, that'd be fun. Fun way to get into it and all. And I know last year you said it wasn't quite the numbers that they were thinking of having. Were any of the students that you already have, did you see anybody there? Did you able to create some new bonds through that?
There wasn't a lot of people there for any reason, unfortunately.
Weather was that harsh.
Yeah, it was windy and rainy. I think it was like maybe even in the 40s.
Oh, okay.
And
I'll do it.
It was just kind of a nasty day. That's one of the risks you run into trying to do anything in New York in early spring like that. But I also think it was more like April 2nd, so it was much earlier.
That'll do it.
And so I got my fingers crossed for them. Hope they have a nicer day this time around.
That'd be awesome, and I hope so. That time of year is typically a really good one. I remember in college we used to have a number of our big outdoor events that weekend, and 3 out of 4 times it was good day, successful. Yep. So I hope the same thing with this event as well. Again, you're listening to In Touch, Townsquare Media, the Hudson Valley's award-winning public affairs and issues program. We've been speaking with Chief Master Gerald Dunn, owner and founder of Karate for Excellence, and we've been really honing in on Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month. And if you're interested in learning more about the month and initiatives that are going on, you can check out information that we have in the description of this episode. Not just that, we're also going to have more information on Karate for Excellence, and that's where I want to bring up for anybody who's interested in getting involved with your programs, following you online, seeing what there is to get involved with. How should people find that?
Well, they could go to my website, karateforexcellence.com with the number 4. If they want, they can follow my Facebook page, or they can call me at 845-462-0624.
Terrific. And of course, if you missed that number, it's going to be in the description of this episode. We always make sure that everything's there for you. So, Gerald, before you head out, do you have any last little nugget for the In Touch listening audience when it comes to Developmental Disabilities Month or martial arts or just structure in general? Any last little nugget that you want to leave them with?
I think that if you just take the kids, get them started on the right path early, it pays huge dividends later on.
Yeah.
And, don't get sucked in by cute sometimes. It's very easy to do, but make them act right. Because, sometimes you just have to be the parent. You don't try to be their friend. They don't need you to be their friend.
Yeah.
They need you to be the authority figure. And you have to earn their respect. And if I believe in rules, because enforcing rules is what earns you that respect from your child. Respect and love are 2 different things. Your kids are going to love you, but they also need to respect you.
And that's very big.
And if they don't, then both of you are going to have everybody suffers later on.
And that's a good rule for just about anybody. Gerald, really appreciate you. And of course, again, check out Karate for Excellence. Check them out at the Autism Walk happening in Baird Park, April 27th. That's going to be a great time, and fingers crossed on some better weather this year. But Gerald, thank you so much for coming back here on In Touch.
Thank you. I enjoyed it.
This has been this week's edition of In Touch, the award-winning public affairs and issues program that runs across Townsquare Media, the Hudson Valley radio stations. We want to give a big thank you to Gerald Dunn. For more information on Karate for Excellence, visit karate4excellence.com. Of course, all links and information can be found in the description of this episode. Whether you've been listening for a while or you just joined us, thank you. You can find In Touch episodes, new and old, on your favorite streaming services like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and more. That and listen on demand with your Townsquare radio station mobile app. Of course, you can still find all articles and audio under the In Touch tab on this radio station's app and website. And don't forget, we're also on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram at InTouch_HV. If you like what we do here on In Touch and want to be on the show, let us know. Whether you have a topic you want to discuss or you want to be a guest, you can fill out the In Touch submission form, which can be found in the description of this episode. I've been your host, Conor Walsh. Until next time, stay curious, keep an open mind, and as always, I'm glad we get to spend some time